Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome you all to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. Thank you for joining the session today. This webinar is on BP Agile SDLC, an efficient approach to software requirement gathering and tracking. We expect the session to last for about an hour with approximately 40 to 45 minutes and remainder time for a Q&A round. So please, if you have any questions, please go ahead and send them using questions tab on your GoToWebinar control panel. I'm very excited to be the moderator of this session today. Our guest speakers today are Tripti Jain, Manager Process Group at OSSQ, and Swami Ghosh, Process Analyst at OSSQ. Tripti has more years of experience in project delivery and quality. She is ITIL V3 and Six Sigma Green Belt in QAI certified. She has been currently working as Manager Process Cube, as I said, at OSS Cube India, and has extensive hands-on experience of SQA, SCPG concepts, practices, and procedures with knowledge of software product and has hands-on experience on manual testing and automation testing using Selenium and QTP. Swami has deep understanding of process and practices of software development lifecycle and agile methodology. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speakers. Over to you, Tripti.
Thank you, Deepika. Good afternoon, everyone. I, Tripti, along with my partner Swami, welcome you all in this knowledge sharing webinar. I wish and I'm sure you get some takeaways after this 1 hour webinar. In today's webinar, we would be sharing, as you all know, you must have gone through the introduction of this webinar, that we would be sharing our in-house developed software development lifecycle, which we call it as BP Agile SDLC. Before we go into the depth of the topic, and what is BP Agile SDLC, I would like to quickly explain how our next 1 hour is going to be. So in the next 1 hour, we have scheduled this 1 hour in 3 major sections. Section 1 I would be taking, in which I would be basically setting up the background, that what was the need of actually taking us through the BP Agile SDLC. She would be telling us each and every step in a detailed view, and also she would be telling how the stakeholders at various activities are involved in these activities. What are their roles and responsibilities and how they are distributed. Then Swami would hand it over to me in section 3, where I would be taking you through a process example, and I would take you through how we can follow that particular process using this, develop this particular process using our BP Agile SDLC. And then in the end, we will quickly do a recap of the salient features and hence the life cycle. And then we are good to go for the question answer round. And yes, I would like to add, you can keep on sending us the questions in between as well. We would take it up logically wherever I found that relevant, and as per the flow of the presentation, I would pick up the questions accordingly. So feel free to send the questions. We would be happy to answer them in between. All right, great. Let's get started. The BP Agile SDLC means Business Process Software Development Lifecycle. before we take you through the actual SDLC and actual steps, I would like to, as I mentioned, I would like to discuss what were the challenges faced, why there was a need to develop this SDLC. Like any other organization, we were also facing issues related to requirement gathering, requirement understanding, documenting those requirements, and then ensuring that each and every stakeholder is part of that particular SDLC's, whatever requirements has been documented, each and every stakeholder of the project understands the meaning of the same. So we tried many things, but we found it out that there were issues that various different stakeholders and the impact and the impact of these challenges were different for different stakeholders. The intensity was different for different stakeholders. For example, if we talk about customers' point of view, generally what happens is customers understand their business. They do not understand the software, what the software is going to be, how it is going to be look like. But what happens is the team which is doing the requirement gathering or doing the requirement analysis with the customer, they try to capture the software requirements instead of understanding what is the business challenge which customer is facing. So they are not asking the right questions to right person. So that is one issue which customer face. Then customer is not able to visualize their requirement. They don't know how whatever requirements they are saying, how they are going to look like, what is the end product would look like. And in the end, whatever requirement document which gets produced during these interviews or requirement gathering session, it generally comes out to be a requirement document which is generally a very heavy document, which becomes almost impossible for anyone or even the customer to refer it back. Yes, they often give sign-offs on them, but whenever there is an end product ready, this again leads to confusion, conflicts, and in turn more turnaround time. So if we talk about next role, if we talk about the software developer or engineering team, the issue what they face is since the requirements are documented in the form of a document, they are also not sure what those requirements are about. This leads to into customer reported defects more, because they have not understood the requirements properly, because it is written more in a document form rather than in a pictorial view or in a graphical representation. And then what major issue what they fail to understand is the lack of low level details. What happens is once the requirement document is created, the low level details generally are missed or not asked by with the customer, or even if they are asked or documented, they are not there in a one-to-one mapping. So developers feel that low level details like what should be the field length, what are the special characters should be allowed, not allowed, all those things get missed. Like for example, what kind of pop-up messages should be there, what kind of error messages should be there. These things generally get missed during software requirement gathering phase. And then the traceability of these requirements is again one of the major shortfall during this whole process. Yeah, we know that traceability of requirement metrics generally all project team creates, but believe me or not, it is more like a dead document which people create just for a quality purpose or just because process wants them to do that. So it's a manual kind of work which they were doing. So it all depends on the QC or developer, whether they are developing it on the time, the requirement traceability or matrix. So in general, the requirement traceability matrix is never updated, so they can never refer it back, and in the end, they cannot trace their requirements properly. The quality controller or the testers, what issue they face during a normal software development life cycle is they are involved in a much later stage of the life cycle. They are involved when the requirement gathering is already done, the development has already started, and then they are asked to get on board and start writing the test cases referring to those heavy requirement documents. So in all, the tester is involved only rewriting those requirements in the form of test cases. So of duplicated activity which QC or tester again is doing. So they are not doing value add to the system, but they are not doing any value add to the system, but they are just doing the repetitive activity again and again. And if we see the project team as a whole, the lot of duplicated effort is going on, which impacts the efficiency and productivity of the complete project team. The documents created in different phases of the project do not have any linkage to each other, and at the end of the project, they are the documents which are not fully updated. They are the document which does not have any linkage, and they keep lying in the silos, which nobody wants to refer back. So these are the major challenges which we were facing, and I'm sure most of the other software organizations also face the similar issues. So so now the question is, why not standard SDLC or agile lifecycle which can be used? So as we know that a standard waterfall or agile lifecycle, what happens is, waterfall, as we all know, that it's a phase-wise delivery. There is a phase defined for each and every activity. Like there is a requirement documentation phase, then there is a design phase, coding phase, like that. But there is never a question to going back to a previous phase if we find some issue, right? Once the requirement is documented, signed off, that particular phase is frozen. Similarly, when the design is done, that particular phase is frozen. So even if we find any issues, even if we want to change any issue, that cost of changing becomes more. Because if we have to change at one place, the change reflects at so many other places as well. In case of agile, also one of the issues with the waterfall model is customer gets to see the end product or visualize their requirement at much later stages. They have to wait almost till the end of the project lifecycle to see the end product actually. And in case of agile requires a very mature and kind of environment for all the project team members and stakeholders and client to work upon. So giving a complete scope of the application doesn't generally happen in agile environment. So what happens in the end? The project keeps on going. So there are multiple sprints which are going, and this becomes indefinitely long. So again, there were issues with the waterfall model as well as with the agile model. So this was the time we tried to define our own solution. Kind of inputs QC team members were giving to the delivery team was very good. The turnaround time to develop a particular application or a software product has increased a lot. So that time we decided that let's roll it out across the organization. So in November 2014, we rolled it out across the organization, and based on the pilot projects, we rolled it out in all the projects. While doing this rollout process, we imparted hands-on training sessions. These hands-on training sessions were given to all the roles like delivery managers, project managers, program managers, team leads, developers, quality controllers. Everybody was given a training on that, and those hands-on training were exhaustive sessions. They lasted for 1.5 months. And till this date, we keep on receiving, since they are using it, we keep on receiving feedback from our practitioner, and that is why we are continuously improving this SDLC. And the way we have started 1.5 years back, the SDLC looks more mature and more stable now. As I said, that this agile SDLC is a combination of 4 methodologies. Those are waterfall, agile, BPMN and prototype. Waterfall and agile, we are aware of it. I will not be spending much time on that. But yes, BPMN and prototype are the comparatively new terms. What is BPMN and what is prototype, we will see in our next slide, and how it was utilized in our SDLC. Actually, these are the two major pillars through which we are able to achieve whatever challenges we faced in earlier while using the waterfall or agile kind of hybrid model. What is BPMN and why we use BPMN? BPMN is nothing but it's a graphical representation for any business process. You can create a business process flow diagram for anything. So BPMN is a methodology which has standard notations. So whoever is the stakeholder involved, if they are aware of, I mean, we can impart them, we can give a demo of BPMN to them, and everybody can understand what is required out of that particular process. What are the logical steps? What is the how is the business flow going on? All those things can be captured very easily in the form of BPMN. Here we need to understand that requirement documentation is critical, but documenting the right requirement is very crucial for any project. So BPMN has proved in our case that if we are doing requirement gathering in form of BPMN and prototype, we were able to capture almost 100% accurate requirements. Because here customers can visualize their business processes very easily. They can tell where we are going wrong, where the validations are not correct. They can give their inputs then and there itself. I'll take you through this next slide. So this gives a very clear picture that why process modeling is important. See, we cannot touch a process, we cannot feel a process. It is actually in our minds. So to make someone understand the process or to make that process working, is the only way available is to model it or to draw it or to write it down somehow. So BPMN provides one such way, so that we can, whatever process flow is in our mind, we can model it in the form of business process flow diagram. So here one example is given for help desk kind of environment, and related BPMN is given for that. Similarly, we can create any BPMNs, like for if we have to implement the payment gateways, how the payments would be done, what are the channels available, all those things can be captured in the form of BPMN. Moving to our next portion or next pillar is the prototype. What is prototype? Prototyping is nothing but a visualization of an idea. Right? For example, if you want to make a big machine, we don't jump into building that machine altogether. What we do is we build a small prototype of it. We want to ensure that whoever is the stakeholder can look at it and see the working model, a working prototype of that, so that they have the confidence that, okay, if we build a bigger machine, that would also work. Similar way, in case of our software development kind of environment, we can also build prototypes. In our organization, we do the prototyping using a tool called Axure, and using the prototype, the stakeholders, including the customers, have the confidence that, okay, this idea would work. And also, prototyping offers a way to test what looks great and what is the purpose of that particular functionality, whether it is needed on that particular website or software product or not. So all those things, the call can be taken using the prototype. Now, coming to our next portion, that what were the principles behind developing this BP Agile SDLC? Once we have done that, we would quickly move on to the details of those life cycle steps. So the major principle behind developing this BP Agile SDLC was to cut down the duplicated effort, whoever is involved in the project, be it customer, be it developer, be it tester, wherever there is a duplicated effort, we want to cut down on that. And it is helping customer because they are able to visualize the product much more early in the project life cycle in the form of BPMN and software requirement in the form of BPMN and prototype. The requirement gathered in the form of prototype are acting as test case documents, and also they are giving an input to the prototype. How we will see in our next pages. Now the development team and the testing team understand why this application is getting built, and in a way they are doing a value add to the customer because they understand the importance of that particular application which is going to be built, and they can add the more values to the application, not just perform whatever activity the customer has asked them to do it. Now I'm handing over it to Swami. She will take us through the BP Agile SDLC and provide us the steps required to perform those. Over to you, Swami.
Thank you, Drishti. Hello, everyone. Now I will take you through the actual BP Agile lifecycle, which is business process agile and software development lifecycle. And before I talk about our BP Agile lifecycle, we have already learned about the two major pillars of our SDLC, which is the BPMN and the prototype. So we have already learned BPMN is flow diagram that is created through business process notation, and it is a visual. It is a kind of view. By using this, you can view the complete whole process, how it is working in a single view. So you can see in the slide, we have also designed this BP Agile SDLC using the BPMN. So you can see how easy it is to visualize the complete SDLC in a single view using the BPMN. And what is prototype? A prototype is nothing but a pre-production model of a real software system. So using prototypes, what we do is user can click and visualize the how their end product will be looking like. Will be executed the way sprint 1 was conducted. So we can see here we have divided our total SDLC into 4 swim lanes. Each swim lane represents a specific role which plays some important task during the total SDLC process. First swim lane is for engineering team, which comprises of the developers and the development lead. The second swim lane is of BA or PM, which is business analyst or the project manager. In phase 0, we can say whoever does the business requirement gathering task can play the role of a business analyst. In major organizations, there are some specific people assigned to this role, but in general, a program manager, a project manager, or even a QC member can play the role of a business analyst. So the next swim lanes we have, the next roles we have in this SDLC are the tester or the quality controller and the customer. So let us start with our SDLC. First we'll cover the phase 0. Now our SDLC starts when the business analyst goes to the customer, goes into the discussion with the customer for requirement gathering, and what they does is they try to understand the business flow, major business flows, and they capture the business requirements using BPMN. This is what they do during this task during this phase. While when the BPMNs are captured, when the major flows are captured using BPMN, these are sent to the QC for approval and validation, and then it is sent to the customer for approval. So in major organizations, in many organizations, actually QC is not involved from the very early stage of the SDLC. The problem with that is if QC reviews the software requirement specifications when the actual development has already started and finds any logical issue, then later on it will be very costly, because to and fro activity will be very high. The document will be reviewed, updated and sent again to send to the customer, and changes will be done in coding accordingly. It will be a wastage of effort and time and cost. So we have included the tester or the QC from the very beginning phase of this software development lifecycle. So once the BPMNs are created, they are sent to the QC for validation and approval, and then these are sent to the customer for validation and approval. You can see these boxes are created as recurring activities. The meaning of this is you do not have to wait for all the BPMNs to complete at once and then send to the QC. You can send one by one. Whenever one BPMN is completed, you can send it to the QC and then again send it to the customer as well. So once approval comes from the for the BPMN from customer, for all validated business flows, business analyst or project manager start creating the prototype. Similarly, for prototypes are sent to the QC for approval, and again these are once approved from the QC, these are sent to the client. In our organization, quality controller approves and validates the prototypes using some parameters. In our organization, we have created some one exhaustive checklist, which is called a prototype review checklist for the same. It includes checkpoints related to URL, form fill, form actions, list view page content, etc. So that it is very exhaustive checklist, and so that we have created so that the QC does not miss any checkpoint or parameter during review of the prototype. Once reviewed from the QC and approved, the prototypes are sent to the customer for approval and validation. In the meanwhile, these activities are being performed. The business analysts start capturing the non-functional requirements for the system. Non-functional requirements are actually those requirements which define how well the application or the system delivers its functionality to the user. The main point is noted here that we cannot guess all the non-functional requirements in the very beginning of a software development lifecycle, that is in phase 0. But we can capture the major ones. Purpose of this activity is we can get a rough idea of system requirements and the client's expectations from the system at a very early stage. It saves a lot of time rather than doing an architectural level change when the development is already completed. So when the BPMN, the prototypes and non-functional requirements are captured, based on the approval of BPMNs and prototypes, business analysts start preparing the master sprint plan and cost estimates. After that, in the end of this is how our phase 0 ends, and in the end of phase 0, we have sign off on BPMN, prototype, master sprint plan, non-functional requirements, and cost estimates at the end of phase 0. So this is how our phase 0 ends, and we'll be moving on to the sprint 1 of SDLC, the next phase of this SDLC. In sprint 1, before we go into the actual development, we suggest that the project manager and the engineering team and the quality controller as well, they sit together to prepare the sprint plan of the sprint 1 based on their approved master sprint plan and the BPMNs and prototypes. Based on according to the team size and the capability of the team members and the duration of the sprint, and also the priority of the epics or features to be developed, stories will be included in the sprint plan accordingly. Then the epics of stories needs to be captured in a common table. I can show you. I'll show you later on that how we capture the stories in a single table, and then it will be connected to the Jira issue. I'll show you now. Okay, this is actually Confluence we use for documentation, and this is how we capture the stories in a single view. This is how we capture stories in a single view, and this is how it is related to the Jira stories in next in the sprint later on. Okay. So now when the sprint planning is completed, engineering team starts enhancing the business process model and the prototypes based on the stories in scope. The business process models or the BPMNs that are already has sign off in phase 0 are enhanced to the level of functionality and feature flows. They should include the small details like, for example, a user is entering the valid username login in the login field and valid password in password field, clicks on the button, login button, then it takes you to some screen, then the user clicks on some button and etc. These single flow, and each and every scenario should be covered using the BPMN, the enhanced BPMN. And the enhanced prototype should include field level details like error messages, field level validations, exceptions, pop-up messages, etc. Once enhanced BPMNs and prototypes is created, BPMN and prototypes are updated according to the stories in scope, they are sent to the quality controller again for customer has approved all the enhanced BPMNs and prototypes of sprint 1. Engineering team starts developing the coding. Starts writing the code for the application. In the meanwhile, the engineering team or the developer starts writing the code. The quality controller or the tester needs to write the test cases. Here, it is very important for the BP Agile SDLC is we believe that major business flows and functionalities and scenarios, positive and negative scenarios, should be covered using the exhaustive BPMN, combination of exhaustive BPMN and prototype. QC only has to write test cases for the scenarios that cannot be covered using the combination of BPMN and prototypes they have created. As for example, some negative test cases, some UI related test cases they have to write. Once the stories are developed in sprint 1 from the engineering team, it is sent to the QC for testing, and QC tests the functionalities using the combination of BPMN, prototype and the test cases they have written. Once the functionalities have tested and completed, QC prepared to release and create release video and release notes as well for the release. The purpose of creating release videos are actually the purpose of creating release video is it is a kind of demo they are recording for the release for the functionalities they have developed, so that the client can visualize the release at their convenient time and give the feedback. Then the release is done and customer reviews the release. So in the meanwhile, customer is reviewing the release and preparing the feedback. The engineering team, the project team sit together to conduct retrospective. That what went well, what could have been better in sprint 1, and the action items from the learning of sprint 1. This is how our sprint 1 ends. Then feedback, in the meanwhile, feedback comes from the client for sprint 1 release, and they should be captured in sprint 1 backlog. And next sprint planning should be started. So in the end of sprint 1, the project team gets sign off and approval on the documents like sprint plan and time estimate for visual sprint, field level updated BPMNs and prototypes in scope for the sprint, and the release note. This is how the BP Agile SDLC works, and these are the steps we need to be executed to conduct the BP Agile SDLC. If you have any questions, please start sending those. We'll take up those later. Now I'll be handing over to Tripti for the next slide.
Thank you, Swami. I will quickly demonstrate whatever life cycle Swami has shown, the steps what Swami has shown. So we will take up an example of PO process. PO process is purchase order process. So this, what you can understand is kind of you can see we have created a business flow diagram of this. So it's very easy to read. Like as a user, I should be able to create a PO and track status of the same. As a HOD, I can approve. So once these BPMNs are created, or the business flow diagram of that particular process, so you can see there is a email notification being sent, and then who would get that email, what all parties would be involved, like finance team would be, final approvals would be there, buyers would be there, then creator would be there. All those things, once they are captured, they can actually publish this in the form of a Word document. Once that Word document, this is how the Word document would look like. So what the development team can do is, they can start using those activities which were listed in the BPMN. They can actually start treating them as a requirement. So now these requirements would be written in the form of a requirement roadmap page. And using Jira and Confluence, once these requirements are listed in this page, what we can do is the project team just hovers on that particular text and can convert it into a Jira issue directly from here. So once they get a pop-up like this, create 5 issues from this table. So in one go, they can create all the Jira issues directly from this page. So once this table is completed, this is how it will look like. The requirements were captured using the BPMN. Those were converted into Jira issues, and these Jira issues tracking can be done directly from here. So this, in a way, is acting as a requirement traceability matrix. And if they want to add a detail to those requirements, like whatever details they have captured, in prototypes, they want to put it in this requirement, they can add a detailed requirement page for each requirement and link it in the form of technical solution page. So they can mention what are the design elements, what are the technical details, any other queries, outcomes. So this is the template which they use, and they can provide the BPMN link and prototype link also here. And this will act as a traceability matrix later on. Moving back to our slide, so I will also show you, the team has also created a prototype screen for the similar form. Once they have published it, this is how the prototype screen would look like. So now if they send this prototype screen link to the customer, they can see that whether the payment mode they have mentioned is correct or not. Imagine if this would have been written in the form of a text, in the form of that these are the prototype, these are the payment modes you need to include. It would be difficult for anybody to read it out and implement. Once this is there in the prototype, now it is very easy for a developer to understand that, okay, these are the payment mode options they have to provide. Similarly, what are the categories? What is the gender they have to mention, and all those things. Once this prototype is there, client can easily visualize if they want to make any change. For example, they want date of inquiry to be called as date of initiation. They can suggest that change then and there itself. So you can imagine how easy it would be. And once they submit it, it should go to a thank you page. So whether this message, what is getting displayed, is correct or not. So the spelling mistakes and all those smaller details which keeps on hampering or happening in the project, and which leads to a relatively higher lead time, would cut down for sure. So once this is done, so now they have created a BPMN, we have created a prototype for a PO process. Then same BPMN and prototype gets validated by QC or the testing team member, and once they validate it, they send client would expect after seeing this. So this, I will quickly do a recap of whatever salient features we have seen in our project life cycle. So we have seen BPMN, which is Business Process Model Notation. So this is there to capture the business flow, application business flow, and it helps to capture the validations as well. It gives a clear visualization, clear visual representation of what needs to be done, who needs to be done, and what are the sequences, what is the sequences in which these steps or activities needs to be conducted. And here we use a tool called Visagi. Then the next key feature of our life cycle is the prototyping. So prototyping is nothing but a visual representation of requirement, how your form would look like, what are the drop-down values, how are the drop-down values located, whether male should come up or female should come up. All those things can be visualized very easily, right? Then field level details, like what should be the maximum characters, those should be allowed. What are the special characters, those should be allowed. Whether it's a date field or currency field or text field. So all those details can be captured very easily using prototype. We use a tool called Azure to create the prototype. I have just demoed shown you the prototype, how it looks like. And good part about this Azure and BPMN is, if you are sharing it with the customer, you can generate a HTML page, or you can generate the BPMN file as the picture files as well, or you can create a PDF as well. So they are very easy to share also. The next key salient feature of our life cycle is requirement traceability. We have seen that how the requirements which were captured in the BPMN were written in Confluence and then converted directly into Jira. Once they are created as the Jira issue, they are part of the project's backlog. So once the story is there in the backlog, that story has to be picked in one or the other sprint. So there are very low chances that a project team misses out on any requirement, because whatever requirements they have written in prototype and BPMN is written on Confluence and in turn is now part of Jira issues as well. And we are using the tools for creating a requirement traceability. We are using Jira and Confluence as a tool. Fourth most important thing what we have learned here is test cases. We have said that QCs do not have to spend their major bandwidth in writing the test cases, which we believe are nothing but reiterating those requirements. So majority testing is done with respect to BPMN and prototype. In normal scenarios, test cases needs to be written only for UI and some negative scenario. Rest of the other scenarios would be very much covered using BPMN and prototype. Here, the test cases are replaced by BPMN and prototype. So the tools used are Visagi and Azure. Fifth most important feature we have seen in our life cycle was release notes with a video. We believe that if we are sending just a release note after every sprint, client is not able to relate to what is actually was asked to deliver and what is actually delivered. So to cut down everybody else's effort, to see what happens is to give a release, the team goes into a call, everybody in the project team goes into a call and everybody is spending time, and then we expect client to give a feedback on those releases at the same call, but that generally doesn't happen. So what can be done here is you can share the release video before the release call or whatever release demo you are scheduling with the customer. Once you have shared that release video with the client, they would be happy, they would be ready with their feedback during your release demo. So release video actually helps along with the release note. And most importantly, these release notes and release videos are to be sent by QC only, because they are the one who are validating, yes, we are good to go, we have tested everything, it is running fine, now you can release it to the customer. And here we use tools Jira, Confluence, and Snagit we use for recording the releases, recording the release demos. So this is what we have covered in our project life cycle. These are some of the results we wanted to show. See, we started, we have captured the data from January 14 to November 14, and in January 15 to July 15, you can see there is a, these are the number of defects reported by customer. There is a clear quality improvement. You can see the defect count has very much decreased. The number of defects were very much decreased during after implementing this project life cycle. So that's it from our side. We have given a BPMN reference also here. We would like to acknowledge that ONG Group has developed this business process management initiative, and the current version is version 2.0. And that's it from my end, and I will start taking up the questions now. We have one question from Pankaj Girdhar. What tool can be used for prototyping? Can we have a quick or brief demo? So Pankaj, we have shown you, thank you for your question. We have shown how we are using Azure. We are conducting in-house Azure trainings also, and we will see if we can plan a demo, or we can plan a separate session for a Azure demo also. So because it would require us for at least 40-45 minutes to demonstrate that. But we have given a brief overview of Azure in terms of our PO process. There are other tools also available like process model, and there are some other tools also available, but we are majorly using Azure. We have one question from Mohammad Adnan. How can we make aware a client regarding BPMN? So thank you, Adnan, for your question. See, you can make client aware of BPMN by giving them demo. You have to go into a call and demonstrate that how you are that BPMN. You need to tell them in initial few meetings that how you have to read the BPMN, and also whenever you are sending a BPMN for client approval, you need to give a demo of the same. There is one question from Mr. Srinivas Rao. Where is release planning goes? So in this case, release planning is nothing but the sprint planning. So we have said in the beginning of whenever you are starting a sprint, the team along with the QC team members and all the other team members, including project managers, developers, team leads, etc., all goes into a meeting, which is called as a sprint planning meeting. They plan for the sprint in that particular meeting, and they are calling it as a sprint planning meeting. What is the role of QA manager in a sprint? Mohammad Adnan is asking that question. So QA manager can help in reviewing the prototyping, and they can also be part of sprint planning. So whoever is the stakeholder, that's what we are saying. If there is a QA manager who is part of the project team, they can also come and join the sprint planning meeting, and they can also decide on the priorities of the. See, what happens majorly in the sprint planning meeting is prioritizing the stories and then planning the sprint according to those prioritized stories. So a QA manager can very well be the part of those sprint planning meetings. How is the prototype translated to requirement matrix? Dipti K is asking this question. So the prototype, the way we have extracted the Word document from Visagi, you can also extract a Word document out of Azure also. So all your field level details, these can be used not only as part of your requirement traceability matrix, they can also be part of your requirement detailing. So when you are detailing out the requirement, for example, if I create a requirement that as a user I should be able to generate a PO form, so what would cycle. If the requirement has changed after deployment, so that is one good thing about Agile. If let's say the requirement is changed after that was developed, that can come as the sprint feedback, and it would become part of next sprint. So team can decide what was the impact of the requirement change, how we can prioritize that particular. Now once the requirement change is there and it is approved by the customer, now it is part of your backlog. So now you can treat it in the similar way you have treated the other requirements. Mr. Kumar Abhishek is asking how much time will be taking for phase 0, because the things you are asking to prepare at the beginning will be too much. So Abhishek, this is from our experience, we are telling that phase 0 should not be more than 10 to 20% of your total project life cycle. And the time what you are saying that you would be investing in writing the documentation part, when you are doing the requirement gathering in form of BPMN and prototype, this cut down the later on effort very easily. I mean, on a go, it looks like it is going to take much more effort. The same resistance we also had within our organization also, but when we started actually using that particular life cycle, we realized we actually cut down the effort in the end, because everybody has the clarity what is to be developed. So to and fro questions from the customer to the development team, and within the development team, and from the development team to the QC team members cuts down a lot. So there was to and fro things cuts down a lot. So in the end, you end up saving a lot of time. Okay. One question from Pankaj Girdhar. What do you basically cover in the release video? Pankaj, one important thing to note here is, first of all, your release video should not be more than 5 to 7 minutes, first of all. Keep it short, right? And your release video should cover whatever functionalities you are going to release after that particular sprint. You need to cover that. And majorly, you should cover the happy flow of the functionality. So if you, I mean, like if you have to click it, whether this click is once you click it, and you can start recording your voice also in the background. So that would also give you a proof that whenever you sent a release, these functionalities were actually working. So it ends up in resolving the conflicts also. Not just the saving time, it also helps you in solving the conflicts at the later stage of the time. Mr. Srivastava Joshi is asking, are the tools mentioned by you are freeware? Yes, they are the open source tool. Visagi is a free tool. For Azure, there are some free licenses available. I think there is some license fees, but there are also it involves some license fee, but that's not very much. But you have some trial versions also available for Azure and Visagi both. But Visagi is completely free. Neeraj Karve is asking, who is responsible for designing prototype? Is it BA, and does prototype also generate HTML in backend? Yes, I would like to answer your last question first. The prototype generates HTML backend, yes, because that HTML link only you share it with the customer. Who is responsible for designing prototype? When you are doing the phase 0, the BA, the business analyst, would be responsible in capturing prototype, and QC would be validating those prototypes. Tehseen Khalid is asking, I have a question, how to implement this process in an organization. So this depends on, I mean, you need to create that, collaboration within your organization. First, you need to train your people on BPMN and prototype techniques, and then slowly you can move on to implement this process. You can get in touch with us later on. We can see how we can help you out with that. Mr. Sivaraman Vasudevan is asking, how are NFRs covered in this model? Is that also covered using BPMN? No, NFRs are not fully covered by BPMN. So what we have done internally is we have created an exhaustive checklist, which is part of this, which we call it as non-functional requirement checklist. That's an exhaustive checklist. We ask our project team members to, whenever they are going for client interviews, when they are gathering the requirements, they keep on asking those questions from the customers for NFRs as well. So we have created a checklist with the help of our practitioners only. So practitioners, with the practitioners input, we have created that NFR checklist. So whenever there is a new project getting started, they use the checklist and they try to capture those requirements. I think I've covered the questions. In case I have left answering your question, you can get in touch with me later on. You can drop us some email, or we will be happy to get back to you. I think I'm done on my end. Deepika, I hand it over to you. Thank you very
much.
Thanks
a lot, Tripti. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Swami. Thanks a lot for this really informative and insightful webinar today. We're very thankful to you for conducting this webinar. It was indeed a great session. With that, we'd also like to thank all our participants for the support in making this webinar a huge success. This session has been recorded and we'll be sending out the link to everyone after the session is over. The recording will also be available on techgeek.com on webinar page under the category of webinar calendar. And in case any of the questions have been missed out, you can post your questions on the same webinar page. Thanks a lot for joining us. Thanks a lot for your time. Bye-bye.
Bye.